Hello, hello. I am Rachel Morgan, a sales coach who helps you take your leads and convert them into paying clients while also increasing the lifetime value of those clients through using client retention strategies. So I'm really excited today to go live with Aaliyah, who is a snazzy copywriter, finance whiz, and adventurous action taker. All good things, right? As a former accountant and personal finance educator, she knew working a small cubicle was not fulfilling, so she decided to make a bold impact online and offline through the power of influential content and copywriting, video marketing, and spreading financial literacy, something we definitely all need. Aaliyah came to the realization that copywriting was a gift during her collegiate career. She wrote compelling stories that captivated attention and published value-driven newsletters for honor societies, which is so cool. And Aaliyah decided to combine her passion for writing with financial coaching to provide a holistic approach to business. So Leah started her business a little over a year ago and has helped her clients sign $15,000 clients, structure a business that fits their lifestyle, and start their path to financial independence through wealth building vehicles. So when I first met Aaliyah, we connected over the importance of video and how it helps you in the sales process to connect and build trust with your community. So I'm very excited to have her on here today to talk about how video can help you in your sales process to build trust, build community, create more sales opportunities. And I know many of us often feel very afraid of showing up. So this is the perfect conversation. And so make sure that while we're chatting, if you have any questions, leave them for us. And we would love to know. And good morning, everyone.
Hey!
Hello.
Hey, Rachel! Thanks for having me on here.
Hello, thank you. Absolutely. So for those that are tuning in.
Hi everyone. My name is Aaliyah James and I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised.
Love Chicago. Such a fun city.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when it gets warmer. So definitely come during the warmer months instead of like the winter months for sure.
Right. Yes, I was there during the summer, so it's probably why I love it so much. I love it. And for everyone just joining, hello, hello, hello. Please make sure to leave any questions that you guys have.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie. And we'll make sure to answer them. I love it. We all know each other. So tell us then, so, being that you help business coaching and all that, why do you think video is so important? Like, let's talk about that, because a lot of people are very afraid to show up, even in the way that we are right now.
Yes, I agree. What I tell my clients is, think about how you make a buying decision. A lot of them told me they wouldn't have signed up into my coaching programs if they didn't see me or hear me talk about my offer. So that's why I think it's super important. And I know we're going to talk about this later. Body language, tonality, movement too, and not just like, looking nervous and being kind of like a stick man a little bit. So that's my intake on why video marketing is here to stay and why you need to evolve your marketing efforts. I'd love to hear from you, Rachel.
Yeah. So, one thing that's really important, and we'll jump right into it, body language, is in the sales process is body language, the way you talk to people, your tone of voice, right? Your posture, your eye contact, and so much of that gets lost online, right? And it's so important. In fact, 55% of our communication comes from nonverbal communication, right? And so that is so important through body language. And when you're just posting a photo or an infographic, that gets really lost, right? And so I know it can feel so scary to show up on video, but it helps people connect to you, right? Because they get to hear you and see you. And like even what we're doing now.
Yes, it's raw, it's not scripted, and we're sharing our opinion. And like you said, you build an emotional connection way faster when people can, again, just see you and hear you versus a graphic, because it's kind of, I won't say like inauthentic, but it doesn't have the same impact versus video marketing.
Right. Exactly. And there's so many different ways you can do that. I know reels are really big. Obviously doing lives like this is another way, but people want to hear you and see you and feel connected, right? And I know you said the same thing. Like usually when I work with someone as well, I want to see them. I want to hear them. I want to hear how they pronounce things, and I want to hear their views on things.
Absolutely. So especially when you're selling high ticket too. Let me make that key differentiating factor. You're selling low ticket, you can get away with not showing up on video, absolutely. But when someone's investing thousands of dollars into a coaching program or a course, they typically want to hear from the person before buying from them.
Right.
Well,
Why do you think that
they're
is?
putting their money where their mouth is, right? Of course, when you're investing more money,
Right.
you're going to have to commit, especially if it's a coaching program. You want to get a sense of the person's vibe, their energy, their values. I always talk about that and making sure the way they're running their business aligns with the way you want to run your business.
Right, right. So I know that we've been talking about body language a bit. I want to make sure we really define what
Absolutely.
body language is, right? For maybe those that don't understand. So body language, in my own words, and I would love to hear your opinion too, is it's any kind of communication that you have with your body. So eye contact can be really big, right? It demonstrates I hear you, I see you, I'm paying attention to you, right? The way you enunciate your words, right? Like, do you have an upward inflection? Are you happy? Are you sad? Like, you always come with a lot of energy, and I love it, right? And that is really infectious. It says like a lot about you and how you talk to people. Your movements, like I'm using my hands right now too, can be part of body language. Yep. Your posture, the way that you sit, and even something as simple as like your appearance, right? Like the way you do your hair and what you wear can communicate a lot. And I know we like to think it doesn't matter, but it does.
It matters,
regard,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
and
I actually wanted to add, go ahead, sorry.
So I would love to hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wanted to
add,
exactly like we talked about nonverbal, I guess, body language, like nodding when people are talking. That shows, again, I'm actively listening to you without like talking, to show you I'm really engaged in this conversation. So that's another form of body language.
Yeah. And I do that all the time. I definitely picked that up over the years because it shows I hear you. I'm taking in what you're saying, right? And I'm focused on you. And so you can't get that through a photo, right? You have to have in a sales call or like this. So that's a really good little like sales psychology hack, is like nodding.
Yes,
so
absolutely, nodding. And we both talked about this eye contact. That's super important on a sales call, because if we're having a conversation and you're just looking over here the whole time, I'm like, am I not important? I'm right here.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because you could totally nail your posture, you could nail your inflection, you could use all the right words, but if you're not making eye contact and you're looking off, what does that communicate to the person, right? They probably feel you're not paying attention and that you're faking. Like very true.
So then that, right? Creates uncertainty for the buyer, right? It's like, man, like the confidence, it's not really there. So that makes me kind of a little skeptical. And that's the opposite of what we want when we're selling services.
Right. Exactly. So tell me, like, then how does showing up on video, because you just mentioned confidence, how do you feel it creates more confidence in the person that showing up on video?
Oh, that's a really great one. I feel like it's tied to confidence, just because, again, it's all about how you're presenting yourself and how you're communicating the value of your offer, your essence, your personality. I think sometimes people, kind of like think that confidence equates to you have to be an extrovert. And I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this, because I know a lot of my friends who are introverts, they're nervous and they think they have to put on a front like, hey, I'm always excited, this is how I am. No. So then they either avoid video, or they're doing like what you said, fake it till you make it. So then it's not an enjoyable process, the sales process.
Right. Yes, that's a really great point. I hear that a lot too. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not extrovert enough. I'm not loud enough. I can never sell. I can never show up on video. But I will tell you, having worked in sales for a decade, the best salespeople are actually introverts, because they know how to listen and they know how to respond effectively, right? And not to say someone who's extrovert can't. You absolutely can, but it's a different energy. It sometimes.
Is listening, very important.
And so yes. So, if you're an introvert and you're scared of showing up on video, one thing, it's taking baby steps. Maybe it's you record a video on your phone and then you upload it to your stories, right? Just to kind of show your face. Maybe you talk about a topic, or maybe you just show behind the scenes, like your workspace or something, or what you're working on. There's so many little things that you can do to start showing up on video for people to hear you and see you and do and understand it, right? You don't have to jump full in like what we're doing with a live, or like a whole training or something.
Yeah,
right?
Incremental progress. That's what it's all about here.
Right. And what would you say is, if you're introvert or you're scared of showing up on video, like
I
how would you
actually love the
recommend getting
suggestion
started?
you gave, Rachel, starting with an IG story or an IG reel. And you actually don't even have to talk in the IG reel. You can just
Mm-hmm.
point at things or anything to show your face, right? It's all about making progress
Mm-hmm.
here. But I do eventually want to see people posting, for instance, like an IGTV where it's pre-recorded and they can upload it. I think there's an option on Instagram where you can like
Yeah.
practice an IG live without actually posting it. Maybe you can give more
Mm-hmm.
insight because I haven't done it myself.
I have never done it myself either, but I saw that feature and I love it. It allows you to practice so you can go through the functions, you know what it feels like and looks like. And, I think a lot of that, even in like sales, just in general, it's the fear of like not
Right.
knowing what the outcome's going to look like, right? And I think that's why like video is so scary, because we're like, what am I going to look like? What are people going to think? Do I know where all the buttons are? Do I know how to like record this and upload this? And so I think it's a really great thing that Instagram did in order to help us feel more comfortable,
Right.
right? And practice that. And even if you're just nervous on video too, that's why I suggested record it on your phone, because you can practice saying it out loud before you actually record. You can practice it on your phone till it's absolutely perfect and then upload it when you feel comfortable and ready. And it's always better to kind of get the awkwardness out first
Yeah.
before you actually get on video. So even like a presentation like this, you can practice talking and saying what you need to say ahead of time so that you're not working through it when
Yes,
you're
and
actually
let's
on
also
video.
mention when you're going live, if there are periods of time where you're pausing,
Yeah.
that's okay. That actually shows confidence that you're comfortable with yourself in silence. So I do want to make that point that you don't always have to, I guess, like rattle and think you have to always talk. It's okay to pause a little bit sometimes.
It is. It is okay to pause. And I think that's human, right? Because people sense that energy if you're constantly going, going, going. And that's another thing too. People can sense your
They
energy when you're
can.
video,
Yeah, we're,
right?
we're energy catchers. That's kind of what I call it. Like we can
Yes.
catch each other's energy.
It's infectious, yes. So one thing that you had also brought up to me, and I would love, because this is part of the sales process, of course, too, is the difference of actively selling versus passively selling. And so since we've talked about video and selling over video, I would love, like, how does that play into video and the
Yes.
sales process?
So when I say passive selling, it's more so I'll see like a lot of online service providers, they'll post like a template made from Canva about their
Mm-hmm.
services. That's kind of passive to me versus actively selling where you're like taking the time intentionally to record yourself talking about your offer. So I do think that when you're in the earlier stages of your business
Okay.
and you haven't built up that credibility, trust, momentum, that you should actively sell your offer and not rely
Mm-hmm.
on graphics to sell it for you, because like we talked about, people actually want to hear you talk about your offer not once, not twice, sometimes like 5, 10 times before they buy.
Right.
So I'd love to hear from you, Rachel.
Yeah, it does take, and I think,
Yes.
okay, there's a lot to say there, right? So to me, content marketing is called marketing, right? It's not sales, it's marketing. And so content marketing can
Right.
help pique interest. And to me, that's kind of passive, because it's like, hey, I exist, I'm here, we're doing this offer. And I guess if we're picturing it like a real world example, it would be like seeing a banner or signage when you're at the mall in a store, right? Like, hey, we're running the sale, come
Yeah.
on in and come check it out. That's passive, because no one is like actively talking to you about it. Now, to me, then, kind of the actively selling is that communication, is the conversation you have with people. So when you do walk into a store, it's that person that's engaging with you, finding out what you need, answering your questions, pointing you in the right
Right.
direction, adding on, right? So in the online space, obviously you're not walking in a store, but it's the conversations that you have in your DMs. It's the sales calls that you have. It's the following
Right.
up with
Yeah.
people,
And let me.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so
I actually just
video.
wanted to add
Oh,
on
go
to what
ahead.
you
Yeah.
said. I don't want people to think that I'm confusing the two. You're totally right that you have to have conversations. Conversion takes place when you're actually having conversations with pre-qualified prospects. So I do want to make sure I clear that up. It's not just content, it's
Right.
also conversations, because that leads to sales. So continue, Rachel. That was fantastic.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. Your content is kind of like your salesperson, or like your
Right.
marketing that gets people in, right? So video is important to the experience people have interacting with you. It makes them want to get
Mhm.
to know you more. That's what your content, it's like your visual displays.
I'm loving the
Hey,
engagement
Tony.
you're getting here. It's like everyone's saying, hey, Rachel.
Yeah, everyone say hello. And, like I said at the beginning as well, if anyone has any questions or any points like to make, please drop them. We want to know where you're from. And I love the point too that Go Giver gave. Content marketing is like the, hey, I exist, right? And that's what it is, right? That's why, like when you're at the mall and you see product in the windows, right? It's visual marketing, right? Because you're like, hey, I'm here. This is what I offer. Come in, come check it out. And so how do you get people in, right? And that's why video is so important, because they get to see you, they get to hear you, they get to feel your personality. It piques more interest when they can see the person behind the brand. And I think right now,
I love it. Keep going.
Directions, but we want connection. We want to feel a part of things. And I think, in the world that we live in now, business is about, it's not just a business. The business is like a human, right? And we want to feel connected to it. And a great way to humanize your brand is by showing the people in the brand that are part of it. And video is how you show up and how they, oh my gosh, sorry, my headphone. It's, hopefully you can hear me. So it's how people, they hear you and get to know you and what you're about and what you stand for. And that's such a crucial part to the sales process, right?
They want to feel like they're part of a bigger mission. I like what you said, talking about what you stand for, your values, and publicly sharing your viewpoint. That's key here. And I know a lot of people are nervous to do that because maybe they don't want to go against like the industry norm, but your clients love hearing your opinion. That's how I view it.
They really do. I know it can be kind of scary to put your ideas out there, and they don't always have to be radical, but they want to hear from you. And I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, all the big accounts that I follow. I want to hear from them every day. Like I go to their stories and I'm like, what are they posting today? I love their content. I almost get like let down when they're not sharing something. I think we forget about that because we don't know who's in our community.
You're right. You know what? Someone told me this, like you're someone's favorite notification. And when I thought about that, it's like, that's actually true. People have told me that personally. So it's a really great feeling to know that I'm making an impact on the community as a whole.
It is the most like fulfilling and meaningful thing to know that you really make a difference for someone.
Absolutely. Right? Online and offline.
So yes, of course. All right. So we have a question. So do you have any fun ideas in regards to showing up in stories?
Okay. Sorry. I see it too. I was reading it as well. Oh, do you want to start off, Rachel? And then I can like piggyback.
Yeah. So I would say one thing I really learned is not to jump on and say, hey, I just want to jump on and let you know. Because that's wasted time, right? To get right to the point, like, hey, we're going to talk about 3 ways to do this and get right to it, right? Because we don't have that attention span. So that's a really good like technique when you start filming yourself for video. And then I know Stephanie, you just said, my biggest challenge is getting on camera and feeling like I'm just talking to myself. Any tips to feel less awkward when it's not a conversation? So when I am filming myself, I never refer to, hey, everyone, or how are y'all doing? Or here's what I hear from most of you. I jump right into like, here's how I know you are feeling, because the reality is that the whole group isn't watching it once. It's one person on their phone probably, right? And so when they watch you, you want them to feel like you're speaking to them directly. And so you want to use verbiage like you, as opposed to the masses. So when you jump on like, here's 3 tips that are going to help you in your sales process, right? Something like that versus like, hey, I just wanted to jump on and chat with you all and see how you're doing. I thought it would be really fun to chat about XYZ. I know we do that a lot in lives as well, but if you notice, like I don't tend to do that. We want to cut that verbiage out. I just wanted to let you know, I'm just following up, things like that, right? Just get right to it. So that's what I would say when you're in stories. And fun ideas, like there's so many. In fact, Tony, I don't know if you're still on here, but she is an amazing account. I can put it in the comments. She always has so many fabulous ideas on how to show up and build social proof. Like literally she did a post the other day, like 41 different ideas. So that may be really useful for you. But just do a mini training. Talk about what's something you can talk about on end. Maybe you posted something for the day. You can maybe go into deeper training about what you posted for that day on video. Maybe you run a poll. You can show where you live, right? And when we're all international, it's kind of cool to be like, what does Seattle look like? What does Chicago look like, right? Like, you know, it's
actually sunny here.
It's
Thank
very
goodness.
Seattle. Wow, I'm jealous. You know, you could show your workspace. You could show behind the scenes of a project you're working on, your process for creating content. You know, I've got my coffee cup here. I could be like, I'm drinking coffee. Here's how this is what I drink, right? Like, I think it's just showing your life, like, and it also helps you be more relatable. And I know we're like afraid of showing that because it's not business related, but I'm telling you now, like, not everything has to be business related. In fact, people want to see more. And that's, again, video, because then you're raw and you're honest and you're in the I don't know. There's so many good. I love it. Oh yeah. Okay, good. A mini training. So you'll see that I do this often is when I post something that is like a big concept, I will be like, okay, here's your mini training for the day. Let's talk about this. And I start with like, here's how to think about this, and here's why we want to do this, and here's how you can go implement it. And you don't have to go that in depth because obviously that's a lot of value to share. So it's up to you how much you want to share. But I always have really good luck when I do mini trainings, and I get a lot of responses in my stories. And that's what you want. You want people to see you as an expert and authority. And so those mini trainings can be really powerful on video and showing up in your stories. So anyways, I just said so much. I would love
I love it. Also, I wanted to know, is there a delay on my end? Because someone mentioned that in the,
I just saw that. I don't think so.
Okay.
You seem to be okay on my end, but maybe
okay, perfect. We'll just keep going. I love that you mentioned kind of like having a balance of all the things when you're posting on stories, right? So the selling aspect, showing behind the scenes, and also the personal content. People actually really love that, especially if you're just constantly seeing people talk about their offers, which of course we do recommend you do, but nothing wrong with showing like what you're doing for the weekend, or if you're on vacation, like snapping a cute photo, because it humanizes your brand. And I think we talked about this, that building a personal brand is super important for 2022.
Right. You know, it's funny, I had this conversation with someone the other day, and they are always very businessy, which is great, and obviously has an amazing following and a community, but they shared something about where they were from. And I was like, yes, I love to see this. And they asked me like, well, why? Like, what would you want to see more of? And I was like, you know, it's just, people want to just know you. And I think we forget to show that side of us because we're like, oh, maybe it's not professional. And by no means am I saying to share all of your personal, right? You get to decide what you put out there. But I think sharing your day-to-day, right? The things you do within your business, the behind the scenes, the, you know, here's my husband, here's my dog, right? Like, here's something I ate today. Like, that's very professional. You're not sharing drama, right? So you have, and I know politics is a big topic, and religion, I would keep that out unless that's a part of your brand, but it can cause a lot of emotional reaction in not a positive way sometimes.
It can. I always say, let's avoid those two, religion and politics, online and sometimes offline, like, because it gets kind of heated.
Yes. You know, and again, it all depends what you do, and but usually it's not a conversation you have to do in order to have business. So, you know, you can be personal without being too personal.
Like you said, no need to share like the drama going on in your household. We can kind of like avoid that, or if you really want to share that, close friends list, maybe not the public, but just finding a balance.
Right. It's a balance, absolutely, yes. And so for anyone, I know a bunch of people just jumped on. Hopefully we're answering your questions properly. But for those that are listening in at this point, you know, we're talking about video and why it's so important to the sales process and how to really like connect on a personal level with people. So if you do have any questions, like, do make sure to drop them for us so we can answer them for you. One-on-one coaching is always a good thing, right? Especially in a live. So, and you are a genius when it comes to video marketing. So is there anything that we left out that you wanted to make about that? Okay, yeah. Go ahead and drop your question for us, and we'll try to answer the best that we can.
Until we have some questions rolling in, I'd actually love to ask you a question, because I have my notes here as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, why do you think that using video helps to increase not only trust but belief in your offer. I always talk about belief on my page because people, you know, if how do I want to say this? The market, it's at like an all-time high as it relates to skepticism, right? People are very skeptical, which means they don't believe certain things or claims or marketing tactics. So I'd love to hear from you. How do you think that people can strategically use video marketing and content marketing to get their audience to believe in the industry, right, as a whole, in their offers and in their overall vision?
Right. That's a great question. And I see it too, unfortunately. And it like completely breaks my heart when these people come to me and they're like, I call it
Yeah.
stuffed. My family's Jewish, so it's a good Yiddish word. They get stuffed by a previous coach. It wasn't what they thought, or maybe they lost money. I've heard stories where people invest $5,000 and then the person disappears, right? Or, and so I can't fake what I'm saying right now, right? And I can't sit here and revise my words like I could with copy, right? And so doing video is so raw, especially in these moments, that people can really hear my passion behind what I say, and they can see the expertise in the way I talk. Now, that is obviously different in a reel, right? Especially if you are editing it and what you want to put out there. But your inflection is still heard. People still see it. And I think that almost the unedited is better. And I think you're going to see more of it. A lot of people talk about that. So I don't know. Am I answering your question? I think that there's just something about hearing someone. I mean, think about podcasts. People love podcasts because they love to hear people. And I think it cements you as a real person, that you really exist in this space. You're not just some person that posts. You don't know who's behind it. You don't know where your money's going. Like it makes you like real.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I've heard multiple investment stories that didn't turn out well. And of course, it takes the coach on their end being super honest about like what they're promising people and the outcome. And also the buyer too, because I've been in a situation like this where my level of discernment, it wasn't great when I first started out. So now I'm very careful with how I make decisions. So I just want to put that out there to anyone who's considering investing. Please ask questions and even talk to past clients.
Yes. And I think we've all done that. We've all invested and we're like, oh, that maybe wasn't the best. But I will tell you, when I am thinking about working with someone, what is the first thing I do? I go to their website, I look at their videos to see how they talk about things, how they promote themselves. I go to their highlights, I view their stories, and I just kind of like take in all that they are, right? And so I think that we forget that aspect sometimes, how much people really take in what we're putting out. And if I don't see a picture,
I don't either.
I don't know that
so then real. I just swipe.
I'm not going to hire you. Yep. But we have a few comments and questions. I'm going to make sure to address them before I keep going off on my tangent, because I'm like that. But Stephanie, you said, I feel like I'm always on the go. Any tips for getting on video when you're out and about? I would literally just be like, I'm out and about. I'm walking. I know you're in New York. Be like, this is the city I live in. Let me show you. Let me take you on a tour of my day. There's often times where I go on walks and I'll just pull out my phone and I'm like, let's do the mini training now.
In the moment.
Like, here, you can listen to me, put my headphones in, hold my phone out, like best lighting when you're outside. But I think, and you could take a photo of you, like, hey, I'm running around New York City today. Like, like New York City is a cool, like, I will tell you, when I like meet new people, that's like the one city everyone wants to go to is New York City or LA. So show people what it looks like.
Yeah, I recommend.
What would you say?
It's in the moment. Why not? I've done that too. I love going on nature walks, and I'll absolutely bring like my phone and talk to people, or at least like talk on my IG stories. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Okay. So how long should be the attention grabbing video, not to keep audience bored? What do you recommend?
Are we referring to IG stories or IG live? Okay. Yeah. With IG stories, so I definitely do think sometimes people go a little overboard, like having like 40 slides every day. I think finding a balance would be nice, just to hold attention, since that's what we're talking about. Not only grabbing it, but holding attention and getting your point across. Like you said, people really, they're not here for the fluff. So just get straight to the point and let people know what it is.
Right. So I would say for stories, right? I like to keep my videos to 4 slides. So that's 15 seconds or a
Right.
minute, right? So when you show up, like get right to the point. And I know like you can have the added captions, but honestly, I don't have the attention span, especially if you're a slow talker, to sit there
Yeah.
and wait for the whole thing for a minute. So I end up liking to type it myself, especially if it's a longer thing. But that's up to you. But I am not going to watch 10 slides of you talking. I'm just not. So actually adding text is really nice because I can read it at my own pace. But, you know, sometimes you have to take an extra slide or two to get your point across, and that's fine. Like, there's no right or wrong. Just, I wouldn't, like you said, 40 slides
Right.
is a lot. I'm not
Watching
going
it
to
all.
watch it all. It's too much, right?
And I like you said about like typing
Right.
it out
For
too.
real,
I always do that as well.
Right. And I just, you know, you can put your brand colors in there. You can emphasize certain words if you need to. I mean, I love the feature of it, like automatically adding captions for you. Do not get me wrong. But sometimes people talk so slowly. And then you have to sit there and wait. And I'm like, I don't want to wait. And so pay attention to that. If you're doing stories, like, do you have better engagement when you type out the captions or when you have them added for you? Right? Do a test. And then I would say for reels, shorter is better. I don't like watching minute reels.
I make minute reels sometimes, but they actually do really well.
Okay, well, it depends. Okay, well, maybe. It depends, I think, what you are educating about. Like, if you are talking yourself, I think that when you're working, it's like a story, right? Like, you're talking through it, you got to make your point. But if you like keep the flow going, I think when there's like a lull in it, then it gets boring.
I do agree. I think having transitions as well, instead of just like one full minute in one like setting, I think, at least I do this personally, I'll have different transitions that it's smooth and it keeps attention, and I have like low background music playing as well, so it's not like quiet.
That's a good point. Transitions in music, yes. Yeah, you want to keep their attention going. You know, think about, okay, we often forget what it's like to be on the other side, right? Even though we are a consumer as well. And so think about what keeps your attention span during something, and what do you like, what do you not like, and take notice of it. Literally take notes if it helps, right? So for you, you're like, okay, transitions and music, and that's what keeps you going.
Yes,
and I agree,
definitely. And I think the last media form was IG Live. So I'd love to hear, like, do you think there's a limit that people should have to, like, what did they say, like, hold attention?
Yes, to keep it so your audience doesn't get bored. You know, I would say shorter is better. Obviously, today we've been on here for over half an hour, but, you know, think about like a podcast. How much time do people have? And I find too with like lives, people do listen to them as if they're like podcasts. They'll put them on the background, listen in. And so you have to be respectful of time. And I think the more concise you can be, the better, right? But I have noticed that 20 to 40 minutes is typically optimal, but it all depends what you're talking about. Especially when you're like having a conversation like this, longer is almost a little better, but when it's just you,
I actually agree. When it's just you, you know, it doesn't have to be 60 or 70 minutes, right? To get your point across. It can be.
But it can be.
Absolutely.
It just depends.
I think I'm more so talking about the frequency. Like, every video doesn't have to be 70 minutes. That's what I mean, in case people are taking us very literal here.
No. Right. Well, I'm like, okay, well, this is an hour. Do I have an hour to listen to this? Or maybe I have 10 minutes, right? I'm actually more likely to listen into something if it's like 10, 15 minutes, especially if it's just them talking. Because it's a time commitment to sit there and listen. So thank you for everyone that's here.
And we appreciate all of you here.
Yes. All right. I know we have some other comments. So Go Giver, you said, belief is the acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. So I love that. That's actually really beautifully said. And then Sandra Wilson Coaching, you said that's such a good reason to do video. I love it. I know it's a little behind my comments because they're not updating as fast. Okay. Go Give Her, you said, oh, nice. Tone and facial expressions is a believable body language. Yes, it really is. And yeah, I'll never forget when I first started in Find Julia, we had this sign in the back room. It said, smile, you're on camera. Because the second you walk out on the floor, people are watching, even if you're not interacting, right? And so it's really important, you know, as you talk, like if you notice I'm always smiling, And like, even if you're on the phone with someone and you're chatting, smile when you're chatting with them, because they hear it in your
They do
inflection.
hear it. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting a lot of hearts. I'm loving the hearts, everyone. We're here
I know,
for it.
yay! We love you all. Okay, I love it. We must do a collaboration on topics like body language. I agree. I think it is, especially in terms of dealing with global clientele. Yes, I think that body language is one thing that we don't really consider, and it's actually wildly important. That's why we're talking about it today. I think
I
you
absolutely agree, especially with the statistic that you shared earlier, like 55%, I think you said, nonverbal body.
Yeah, a researcher, body language, found out that communication is 55% nonverbal, 38% vocal, and 7% words only. So when we think about words only, that's content. That's it. That's it. So that goes to show that communication and nonverbal and body language is really important, very important. And I will tell you that, even, my experience is obviously in-person sales, right? But the way that I stood and made people feel simply by my position of how I stood and how I approached them could really influence how they felt about me helping them and whether they were comfortable enough to buy. And obviously we don't have that in the online space. But the way that we present ourselves and the ways that we talk and, sitting up straight, I've got like a shirt, I've got a blazer on right now. It makes me feel good, right? Like those little things add up in confidence and how people perceive you. And, I'm not one to think like appearances, show up as we are, but it does matter a little bit in how people do.
Right. And I'm actually a huge advocate for sending video messages because, again, it adds that little personalized touch and it shows that I can go the extra mile for my audience. So let me know, have you ever sent video messages before?
I love that. No, but I should do better. And I love audio messages because then people can hear you and hear your excitement. But I don't love doing it for the first message. I like to connect a little bit first over comments because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what's going to be on the other end, right? So but everyone is different. But I think that it's good to have a mix so that because you don't know who's actually like typing to you sometimes. And so audio, video can be a really nice way for people to see that 100%. You're a real person. Yeah. Someone wanted to know too, what do you recommend for length for a YouTube video? I don't have a good answer for that because I don't use YouTube too much. So I don't know if you know. Okay. I'm so sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I would say probably about the same. And think about when you're on YouTube as well, what videos are you watching and how long are they typically?
That's a great suggestion, Rachel.
Right. Okay, and Stephanie said, yes. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I have so many comments. I'm working through them. Yes. Come visit New York City. Love that. Stay tuned for my city stories later today. I love it. I am so excited to see New York City through your eyes and see what you have to share. And I need a mini training. Okay, love it. Yep, reach out. We want to, let us know what you want to hear in terms of mini training. Great tip about caption. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm really behind in my comments. I'm sorry, you guys. You're probably like, I see them all. Okay. Okay, so Stephanie, do you prefer to go live or do a couple video slides in your story?
I like doing a combination of everything, actually. IG Lives, IG Story, IG Reel, Carousel, Static Posts. I like utilizing all the features. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is important to utilize all the features in Instagram, and because everyone learns in different ways. Some people don't see your posts, especially with the new feed.
I don't.
I don't know if you do, but I don't have the favorites. Yeah. So I think, we forget, like, some people see your stories, some people see your posts, some people see your reels. And so you want to meet people where they're at. And it's a great way to repurpose your content as well. As when you take, like I said, I share a post and then I create a mini training on my stories that day. And then from there, you can make a reel out of it. You could, there's so many things you could do with repurposing on one topic.
That's actually the beauty of going live, that you can have, for instance, a 30-minute video and then chop that up into like 4 or 5 pieces of content. That's amazing.
Yeah. So like our live today, we could make a carousel post out of it. We can make a static post out of it. We can make a reel out of it. We could go on our stories. There's so many different things you can do with one thing. And I think we overcomplicate it because we think we have to.
I overcomplicate too, so do not feel alone. Anyone out there, I'm still battling that, learning to choose simplicity.
All right, and then Go Giver, you said Reels transitions. I need to learn them. So definitely make sure to go follow Aaliyah because she is going to teach you how to do some reel transitions, which I know I could also get better at. And then, yep. Okay, people are like, yes, I need to learn them. So I see some future mini training for you,
I'm
Aaliyah.
excited.
Doing reel transitions. Right, and then absolutely hate some background music on certain talking reels. Could be distracting depending on the volume. So maybe you have your
Really, yeah, that's what I do. I
keep the
keep the
volume really
volume
low.
because they have two options where it's your audio and then the background music. I have it at like 4 or 5. It's very low.
Very low, right? Yeah, it's kind of just
right.
It's meant to be background music.
Yes.
Don't take the center stage, right? All right. And then music, and also sometimes a lot of text isn't also good. Sometimes you can hardly read and register.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can be overstimulating. Right. Yeah. And then amazing. Okay, thank you. Oh, and hi Mackenzie. Love from India. Oh, I would love
Never, but I
India. Have you ever
definitely
been
want
to
to
India?
go too.
Yeah, I had a good friend that lived there. She actually just moved back. So oh my gosh, how about sharing your emails here? Yeah, if you guys want to connect in the comments, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is so cool to see this community. Definitely, you never know who's in the comments and who's watching. That can be a potential lead for you or potential business collaboration or something. So get to know each other too in the comments and reach out. And
right, that's what it's all about. Or
about,
just having a
right?
business friend. Like,
so
that's incredible too.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, I love it. Go Giver. I love repurposing lives reels. Yes, I mean you can cut these reels out and go make or cut lives and make reels out of them or share them to your story. Like you can do so much. Like it's endless. Like you create what you want from it, right? So, oh, thank you, girls. Oh, I love it. You shared your email. Okay, well, thank you. And okay, we have 2 questions. I want to make sure that you guys are so good at questions. I love this. My goodness. Okay. So first one, how do we plan content around the audience? Say, for example, for a restaurant owner.
So I'm actually a fan of getting down and dirty with market research and having Zoom calls with my audience. I think that's a really great way instead of just relying on like a questionnaire form, just because sometimes people may give vague answers and they're not really getting down to the deeper reasons or pain points or desires that they want. So that's always my go-to. Audio notes, Zoom calls, and asking very insightful, deep questions.
Yeah, the questions are really important, and never be afraid to ask questions either. I will say, I always go back to my fine jewelry world, but it's product based, right? So I completely understand what it's like. It's different than a service based, right, for a restaurant. So think about like what it's like to be a consumer of that restaurant. And if I'm thinking of fine jewelry, right, I could show how to clean jewelry. I could show how to properly add a charm onto a bracelet. I could show how to customize something. I could, think about the value that you can add from that restaurant. Like, you could show dishes. Yeah, you could show how something is made. You could do like a background story on the company, right? You could, a day in the life where you could talk about new things that are being released within the restaurant. Like there's so many things that you could show about behind the scenes of, and think about like, what do people need to know in order to be successful in that restaurant? What else?
I actually like that you mentioned showing behind the scenes, like of the different chefs cooking, right? I think that'd be incredible.
Yeah. Introduce the team.
Yes.
Introduce the team.
Even like saving it as a highlight, like team, and then showing like the different team members. That's fantastic, right? It's tugging on that emotional connection that we talked about earlier.
Right. And when people walk into a business, it's so uncommon for them to know the people that work there. And so I will tell you, as like a store manager, it was really important to me for everyone that came through my door knew who I was, even if I wasn't the one that helped them, so that they were like, oh, hey, Rachel's going to be there today. Regardless, I know she's there and she's going to help me, or I know her team member, right? And so I think introducing the team, even over video, is a fabulous way for people to get to know the people that are part of the business, because at the end of the day, people prefer people.
It goes back to the phrase that everyone says, people buy from
catalogs
people.
Are nice.
So true. If I can I like elaborate a little more on this? Because I'm super passionate about it. I feel like sometimes with all like the email sequences and funnels and automation, people forget that relationship building, that aspect does not disappear just because we have technology. That actually should be at the forefront. That's the driving factor for your business, sales, client retention, all of that.
Right. Yes. And I want to remind you that in a world where we want instant gratification, relationships do not happen overnight. Think about your friendships, your loved ones. It takes investment. It takes getting to know someone. It takes, being a part of their life and following up and checking in with them. But the long-term success of that is more worthwhile, right? So be patient with yourself if building a relationship takes time.
And we have no idea the different walks of life that people come from, right? Like past trauma, experiences. It really takes showing empathy.
Right. Yeah. Be empathetic, right? Oh my gosh. Well, sometimes that empathy gets me in trouble. I don't know about you, but their strength is always their weakness. But people are people, and when you start talking to them, you realize they're not so different from you. And that's, again, why videos
They can sense it, absolutely.
Right. All right. Couple more questions. Okay, so how many questions do you usually ask in your market research?
Okay, so with me, I usually ask quite a few. I would say like 9 or 10 questions, but then I give something back because I want to be of service. So I'll either give them like a gift card or a free strategy session, or it's kind of a trade-off where I ask them questions and they ask me questions as well. What about you, Rachel?
I would say, you have to understand why you're doing market research and what answers you're getting. So I wouldn't be set, I have to ask 10 questions, right? Think about what do you really need from this, right? You need to find out what they're currently doing to solve this problem that they have. What is the problem? How do they view it? And why do they want it, right? And so think about the questions you can ask around that and understand their day-to-day, and to understand why they're in the position that they're in, and what they're doing to overcome it, and what would encourage them to finally want help, right? So that's the whole point, is like trying to understand it. And you can do market research online by Google searching. You can do it through comments on things. So you might not be asking questions, you might just be like observing.
Right. Facebook groups are great too.
Yes. Oh, I love like following big accounts. I love book reviews are really great, but I know that totally goes in a different thing. But even video, like, you get to hear unfiltered thoughts right now in certain situations. That is market research,
of course,
right?
And like you said, you don't have to ask like 9 or 10 questions. I usually have a few, and I go deeper with the questions, so that's what usually ends up being like 9 or 10. But Rachel, your advice was fantastic.
Oh, and you're so nice. So Go Giver, you said, I can definitely see both of your passions in this live. This is so encouraging to show. Thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate you for staying too.
I know. All of you. Thank you. Okay, so for a website like, okay, I can't say that. What do you think can be done in terms of video? That may be, that's a bigger question. That's why we work with clients one-on-one to kind of help them know how to do that.
No, I actually couldn't. I didn't want to interrupt you either. So can you repeat the question?
Okay. No. So you said for a website like house.com, what do you think can be done in terms of video? I would say, a question like that is why we work with a coach one-on-one and a mentor to kind of help you come up with a strategy. It's kind of a big question. It's a deep dive. But maybe
I absolutely agree. I don't want to give them a generalized statement. This will probably require multiple conversations and a customized strategy to help you get the desired end result that you want.
Right. I love it. Be empathetic. Be empathetic would make a great cheer. Wow, that's amazing. You give a gift card. Yep. So what are you currently doing? How do you view it? Why do they want it? Why are they in the position they're in? What would encourage them to find help? So those are your market research questions, it sounds like. Think about the business and why you want to talk to them specifically. And sometimes you got to be blunt. Like, look, I'm looking for this answer and I would love your opinion on it. But sometimes, and then listen to what they have to say, and you might have some follow-up questions. But, market research is a different topic. That's, as a business coach, that's something that you would help your clients with, nailing down the right questions and how to go about it. And that's, that's why you work with a mentor. But, definitely reach out to either of us if you have further questions about
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Okay, and we have one more question. Okay, we actually have two. I'm sorry, guys. We're trying to get to them. You guys are so on it. I love it. This is taking a lot
I
longer.
know.
See, we're past that 40-minute mark. Um, so how to make content to attract a business owner?
Okay, so wow, so this actually depends on your target market for sure. Because if we're targeting, I'll just give some examples like photographers or coaches or like product-based businesses, that definitely changes the type of language that you're going to be using. But one, I guess, tip I can give them is to diversify the type of content that you're posting. For instance, like educational, belief shifting, aspirational, talking about the core problems, sharing your values and your signature framework. I think having a combination of those core pieces of content will really help to attract people, not only attract them, but move them along the buyer journey to actually make a purchasing decision with you.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So first of all, it depends what kind of business owner. Is this, oh my gosh, my headphones. I'm sorry. They never
Oh,
start. Okay.
wait.
We're
It's like
good.
your
We're
audio,
fine.
it kind of went
So,
lower. Can you like adjust it? Yeah, it's a
can
little
you hear
lower,
me
but
now?
we can hear
Are we
you.
good? Okay. I don't know. I'm sorry. Is that okay? I think it depends on the type of business owner that you are trying to attract. Do they have time to sit there and read a post? Do they have time to put on your audio while they're driving? Right? And so that's why I think reels are effective, because of our time span. We don't have time. So tell me now, right? That's why I said cut out like certain words in your videos. Um, so think about who you're trying to attract and what time they have and how they're going to take in what you have to share. Um, and then I think that comes down to market research as well, is knowing what words and what type of content and what they're looking for and how to talk about it. But another thing you also said too is like, think about, do you really want to follow a brand that is only talking about their offer? Or why do you follow someone? You follow someone for the value that they provide, how they can help you feel successful without fully investing or using them, right? So like I said with jewelry, like maybe showing someone how to clean their jewelry after purchase, right? Um, so if all it's like getting email marketing, right? When like you open that email and they're only going to be asking you to buy, how are you going to probably stop opening it, right? So think about like your page too and the type of content you're putting out, and are you only talking about your offer? Are you actually adding something to the conversation? Are you showing who you are as a human, as a
Yeah.
brand, right? We talked about that at the
Right.
beginning,
I'll
the
also add to
connection.
that, market awareness, knowing like their awareness and sophistication will also help, because if you're talking to a very sophisticated market and you're sharing like entry level information, it's going to fly right over their head because they're like, I already know this. So make sure you understand how aware are they of your industry, the services and offers that are already out there currently in the marketplace. Those are key things to take into consideration.
Right. And that's done through market research and asking how they're currently solving
Absolutely.
their problem. Right. So, and video is a great way to address those problems, right? Get on there, talk about it. I see you're doing this. I get it. Here's what you can do instead, right? So, okay, we had one more
Right.
question,
We don't
and
want to
I think
keep
we're gonna end it
everyone
here. That
past an
sounds good too. So I
hour.
want to make sure to answer it. Yes, but you guys are amazing. I
Yeah.
appreciate all of you so much. Like, and clearly this is a
We
conversation
do.
we need to have more of. So, you know, I love it. So, please, anyone that is watching, reach out to us, and we're happy to continue the conversation as well. But our last question is, which feature is your favorite to encourage believability?
Okay, so I'm assuming they refer to like Instagram
That's a
features,
good question.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I would assume that too. If not,
Yeah,
tell us in
definitely
the
tell us,
comments.
because that's a concept that I actually use in my content marketing. So that's why I was asking to clarify. But yeah, I absolutely believe what we're doing right now, Instagram video, IG live, and IG stories. Those are the best ways to create believability in your content, because again, it's way more powerful, it's stronger, it's relatable, believable, than a graphic. That's my short answer.
Right. I would say too, like nothing you put out should be a
Right.
lie, right? Or deceptive. it should always be honest. And I think that video, like I keep saying, is so raw. So you can't, I mean, like you can just tell when someone is not being honest, right? And if you're consistent with the messaging that you use in your content and your stories and your reels and your lives, like people pick up on that.
They pick up on it, and then they stop consuming your content. They start to get more skeptical, and they don't find you credible, right? So that hurts your reputation.
Right. And I mean, we could go so much more into that, but people talk, people know, and, you know, and even, I'm going to say this here too, like in collaborations, it's really important that you treat them the same you would with a lead or a prospect, because, you know, now that Aaliyah is in my network, I can refer her based on my interaction with her. And I think we forget, I mean, those moments as well, and believability. And, you know, when we've had a bad experience with someone too, or they don't seem trustworthy, we're going to tell people.
Definitely. And vice versa. I will absolutely recommend Rachel to anyone. Clearly the sales queen over here.
Well, you're the video queen, so I love it in transitions. Well, okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening in. Aaliyah, is there anything else?
We literally covered everything.
I know we talked about so much today. Love it. So I think moral of the story is, if you're not using video, go try it out. Just start small, record yourself practicing it out loud, show up on your stories. Maybe you start by posting a photo of yourself if you're not comfortable with video, and then you start moving more into video. I promise you it gets easier the more that you do it. I'm sure you can say the same as well. I hated it at first. I hated the way it looked. I hated the way it sounded. I was nervous that people were going to focus on that, but honestly, they don't care.
They literally don't care. That's when I realized
it,
especially when people say, hey, you're not posting as much. Where are you? I'm like, oh, wow, you all literally don't care. Because I felt the same way. I hated my voice. I was like, oh my goodness, people are going to judge me. I'm like messing up. But that's the beauty of it. Raw and unfiltered.
People just don't care. They really don't care. And it's okay. You're human. And I think there's something to being human in those moments that people are going to as well. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Inspired to do something. All right. Well, let us know so we can cheer you on.
We will be.
We're going to be watching. Yes. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for everyone's questions today, for being here. Thank you, Aaliyah. And most importantly, if people want to know more about you.
Yes. Well, we've been talking for over an hour, so I won't give them this long pitch. Just follow me at BizMentorAaliyah, or shoot me a DM, and we can have a conversation about what it would look like us working together and to see if it's a good fit. But thank you, Rachel, for having me on here.
I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And for those that don't know as well, I do a monthly sales newsletter, and this month we dove into objection handling. So if you are looking for more sales tips, you can subscribe on my page. So definitely come say hi. We want to meet you all. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Rachel.
We'll chat soon.
Bye.
Right.